To do the third question of 13-3, we are going to first fill in the table for the parent graph f of x is equal to cube root of x. We are going to do it in the similar manner. We are going to take the same x and y values as in sx in the first question of this section. So I'm going to take the values of x as -8, -1, 0, 1, and 8. This is just because these are whole cube numbers, and you can find the cube root of these numbers very easily. Cube root of -8 is -2. Cube root of -1, -1. Cube root of 0 is 0. Cube root of 1 is 1. Cube root of 8 is 2. This is the parent graph. We will quickly go ahead and plot that. -8 and -2, -1 and -1, 0, 0, 1, 1, and 8, 2. This is our parent graph. We are now going to graph h of x. To obtain the graph of h, we have to move the graph left 3 units or horizontally translate left 3 units and vertically shrink by a factor of half. Right? So that means we have to subtract 3 from all of the x values and multiply by half all of the y values. So let's do that in a different color. This will be the table entries for the transformed graph. -8 minus 3, -11. -1 minus 3 is -4. 0 minus 3 will be -3. 1 minus 3 is -2. 8 minus 3 is 5. Now for the y values, we are going to times each of the y values by half. So -2 times half is -1. -1 times half is -half. 0 times half is 0. 1 times half is half. And 2 times half is 1. This is a half. We are now going to plot the transformed graph. -11 and -1 is actually going a little bit outside of the graph. We are going to do an approximation for that. -4 and -half is right about here. -3, 0 over here. -2 half is over here. And the last entry is 5, 1 over here. Let's join these to get a transformed graph. This graph has moved left 3 units. As you can see, every point has moved left 3 units and has been shrunk to half the size. So what was a distance of 2 away from the x-axis earlier is now only a distance of 1 away from the x-axis. So the distance has actually become half. Let's write the domain and range. In this case, we will only write the domain and range for the transformed graph. For the original graph, you will look at question number 1. So the domain is again -infinity to infinity. Actually, this domain doesn't change for the parent graph and the transformed graph. In this case, it's the same. That's why probably the question asked for both of the graphs. And the range is also the same. So it's actually not changed by the transformation. It's still -infinity to infinity. Thank you. If you have any questions, let your teacher know. We have office hours every other day. So look up the live agenda for the schedule. Thank you. Bye.